Hello viewers. I wanted to make a League Start plans video because I think I'm going to be doing something interesting that I think other people might also be interested in. I'm not going to be editing this video. It might be a little rough because that's just too much work. And also if this video gets too much attention, then my prices will go up anyway. Uh, so my biggest inspiration for this build was the new Unholy Might, which benefits this build in a couple ways, but I've always wanted to do a Pillar of the Cage God build, or at least for the last couple leagues. So this is my day two-ish POB. Uh, some of these items are a little bit expensive for day two, specifically the Astromentus I'm not sure about, but everything else should be relatively achievable. Uh, the Anoint Whispers of Doom is the most expensive part of this POB right now, which, the build functions fine without it. But given, the numbers that the build's putting out in POB, it seems really good for the amount of investment. Uh, So I do want to note that this obviously isn't something that you can level with in a league start scenario, given the alternate gem double strike of momentum. I will be leveling with boneshatter, and you can find someone with a boneshatter guide if you also want to do what I'm doing. I also don't usually play melee, so if I get something wrong, please correct me in the comments. But the build is essentially trauma stacking Juggernaut with Pillar of the Caged God and yeah, the reason that the build is so good is because it's abusing a lot of different buckets for damage. So, of course, there is trauma support for a bunch of added flat damage. And that combos really well with Pillar of the Caged God, which gives 16% increased physical damage per 10 strength. We stack a bit of strength, but we don't go like super out of our way to stack a ton of strength because we have a lot more buckets. Such as attack speed. Double Strike of Momentum gets a ton of attack speed, and each of these attacks in the attack rate double hits. So we get a ton more attack speed through stacking quality on Double Strike of Momentum, which isn't shown in the early game POB, but once you go to mid game, get a Dialas and an Ashes, the attack rate and the damage, of course, goes way up. Another bucket is Wither. So through the new Unholy Might, which is going to be converting 100% of physical damage to chaos and give Withered on hit. It's pretty easy to get permanent uptime just through the one node on a medium cluster jewel, which should be fine to get. But since that will give us Withered, which should be pretty easy to maintain permanent 15 stacks, especially after getting slightly better gear than what's shown here. If you can have at least 15 on here, at the attack rate, that should allow permanent 15 stacks of Wither, which is obviously really good. And then there's also going Chaos damage gives Ming's Heart for 72% basically more damage, which of course that's also very good. And then we also are going crit, so that's just an entirely new bucket. And lastly, I will be doing totems, of course. What's melee without totems? And also a cast when damage taken Warlord's Mark, which I think should grant near permanent uptime of Berserk. I tested this a little bit, but not a ton. I think it should work, especially given Double Strike's or Trauma's and Ruthless's uh, synergy with stunning enemies. Since Warlord's Mark grants 20 rage regenerated over 1 second when stunned. So yeah, that's basically what I'm going to be doing. Um, this is, of course, a completely ethical POB. I'm not intending this to be like a super league starty video, but you know, and also this lethal pride can just be any lethal pride. It's mostly just there for the strength on small passives and There's also a bunch of other things you can get. Percent strength is really good. Intimidate on hit is good, but not that good because we already have withered, and that's the same bucket. Um, Anything else? We get frenzy charges through this mastery here when we hit a marked enemy. We get power charges through vengeance and power charge on critical. Vengeance has a 34% crit chance, but it'll be going off all the time, especially after ashes. The chance to trigger when hit goes up to 80%, I believe. And so, since we're attacking so fast and getting hit every time we attack because of trauma, I think this should offer near permanent uptime of power charges. Again, I'm not very good at testing, and I like playing Path of Building more than Path of Exile. But yeah, lastly, I guess the Jug Ascendancy, get a ton of accuracy and attack speed through Undeniable, obviously super good. Unstoppable is some amazing quality of life. Unbreakable gives a ton of effective hit pool. I opted for going Iron Reflexes with Grace and Determination. Uh, there's basically no reservation efficiency in the build. I'm sure if you had more budget, you could fit in more reservation efficiency and get another aura, such as, say, Arctic Armor for less physical damage taken, um, and then Untiring to, sustain all of the trauma. I think the trauma sustain should be good. Um, this is with no flasks. Maximum trauma is 94 with a self-hit damage of 2000. Some guy in the Path of Exile Discord told me that as long as it's like half health or below, Jug can probably sustain it. I'm going to believe that guy. Um, if you have like some flasks up, then it goes way down to like a quarter of your life, which I think should definitely be fine. But, if you're starting to kill yourself, just don't. So yeah, that's basically what I'm doing. Have a nice league start.